started farming in 1978, and 1983 started no-tilling, and I've been doing that ever since. And in 2009, had the opportunity to get in what was started out a 5-year study with strips of cover crops and without, and set out a research pattern, and it ended up being a 10-year study. So from 2009 through 2019, we had 10 years of research with that, and so I was able to learn a lot with that. But as we went on, about year 2 in the program, I put it up from, there's only like 10 acres in this plot, like 4 2.5 acre strips. I went up to 80, and then 300, and then 600, and then pretty much everything the last 5-6 years of the program, except the 10 acres that were in the check strips. So I obviously felt that it was a good thing to do in my farming operation, and so we learned some things from it. We learned a lot about nitrogen applications and how that was affected by the cover crops, and how the carbon penalty and those kind of things that all added to changing some slight modifications in our farming operation to make cover crops pay and work so they increased yields rather than work the other direction. So we added a second source of nitrogen on our planter, and we moved some of the nitrogen applications a little closer to planting time and post-planting, and rather than having a lot of it on the fall before. So there's some management changes we needed to make, and they work well, the no-till system, along with cover crops, and we feel like we are not giving up any yield, and if anything, we're probably adding to yield. And I think particularly in the drier years, we feel like we've had an increase in yield. And I think the last 3 years that plot was in corn, there was always an increase in yield, not a huge increase, but at least a small increase in yield. And I think maybe 4 of the 5 years it was in soybeans, it was an increase in yield too. So we feel like we've made the kind of changes that didn't make it work in our system, and we like cover crops, what it does for soil health. As part of this project, they checked earthworm counts, earthworm middens, and they found out they were like 30 to 40% higher earthworm counts. Did water infiltration studies, and the water was infiltrating better, so that's a good thing. We had less ponding in our ground. So there's just all sorts of good things. And the soil health tests, which we've done with Mitchell, and I think the Soil Health Partnership did some of those too. They both showed better soil health tests in the strips with the cover crops than in the checks that we didn't have them. So all in all, we're very pleased with cover crops and how they are part of our farming system.